Ever wonder how your great-grandfather cleared 40 acres with nothing but sweat and steel? Today, we're uncovering 10 forgotten American farm tools that built this nation. Tools so ingenious, they'd make modern farmers jealous. From musical seed sowers to hay knives that could slice through winter's toughest bales, these relics tell the story of American ingenuity. Number 10. The seed fiddle. Picture this. It's 1890, and you've got 50 acres to seed by hand. Enter the seed fiddle, a tool that turned farmers into one-man bands. Silas Rittenhouse patented his hand seeder in 1888, manufacturing them in Indiana. This 3-pound wonder hung from your shoulder like a violin case, hence the nickname. A catalog from 1891 describes it like this. This is a very light machine, weighing but 3 pounds, is carried over the shoulder by a strap. The sack will hold a half bushel. There is a slide that works over an opening in the bottom of the hopper, which is continually agitated by the distributor. The distributor is operated by a bow, one full stroke at every step. The genius lay in its simplicity. As you walked your fields, you'd pull the bow back and forth, just like playing a fiddle, and the mechanical distributor would scatter seeds in perfect arcs up to 24 feet wide. Portable, hand-operated broadcast sewing machines were introduced from America from circa 1850 onwards, revolutionizing small farm operations. Before this innovation, farmers spent weeks broadcasting seed by hand from heavy shoulder bags. The seed fiddle cut seeding time by 75%, allowing one man to cover 10 acres in a single day. No wonder these tools remained popular well into the 1940s, selling for just 27 shillings in Britain during World War II. The American versions differed from European models in their construction quality and adjustability. Manufacturers like Rittenhouse used cast iron distributors with precisely machined openings that could be adjusted for different seed sizes, from tiny clover to large beans. The bow mechanism used leather thongs that farmers could replace themselves, making field repairs simple. Some models included agitator pins inside the hopper to prevent seed clumping in humid conditions. The canvas bags were often treated with linseed oil for water resistance, crucial for early morning sowing when dew still clung to the fields. These fiddles became so essential that many farms kept two, one for small grains and another adjusted for corn and beans. The rhythmic motion of operating the fiddle actually helped farmers maintain consistent walking speeds, ensuring even seed distribution across their fields. Before we move on to the next one in the list, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you're enjoying this content so far, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch these videos without subscribing. Imagine what we could accomplish if everyone subscribed. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. Thanks to all of you who do. Number 9. The Black Hawk Corn Sheller. In Tennessee, inventor A.H. Patch revolutionized corn farming with a tool born from failure and perseverance. At 60 years old, Patch returned to his dream of inventing a corn sheller. He toiled over his design until he produced the Black Hawk Corn Sheller, named for the strong and determined Indian chief Black Hawk, and patented it in 1886. Patch's corn sheller was given the highest award of the World's Fair at the 1893 Columbian World's Fair in Chicago, Illinois, for ingenuity. Before Patch's innovation, farmers spent cold winter evenings shelling corn by hand, a tedious process that left hands raw and bleeding. This style sheller was used to separate seed corn from the cob to be used for next year's crop. The larger table mount or box shellers that you often see were typically used for feed purposes, while these handheld versions had the much more important job on the early farmstead of giving the farmer more control so that only the choicest kernels were saved for seed stock for following year. The Black Hawk changed everything. Its cast iron construction and innovative spring-loaded mechanism could shell a bushel of corn in minutes, not hours. Farmers could now process their entire harvest efficiently, selecting the best kernels for next year's seed while preparing feed for livestock. "You'd shell daily for chickens," says Jim Moffett, Modesto Ill. "Hogs will eat it off the cob, but we'd shell for chickens, and we used to grind ear corn for dairy cows." Starting in 1898, the corn sheller was produced at Patch's foundry in Clarksville, and he used the Cumberland River to ship his product around the world. In its day, the Black Hawk sheller was sold in every country where corn is grown: Russia, Italy, France, Hungary, Brazil, Egypt, Australia, South Africa, Turkey, Argentina, China, India, Siberia, and Persia, as well as every southern state in the U.S. The tool's success came from its adaptability, adjustable for different corn sizes and moisture levels. This, the Black Hawk sheller, is one of the best of the moderate price hand shellers now on the market, boasted an 1887 advertisement. Its capacity of from 8 to 14 bushels per hour is large enough for all home use. Production continued at the Clarksville Foundry until 1955, making it one of the longest-running farm tool success stories in American history. Number 8, the hay knife. Imagine trying to cut a wedding cake that's been compressed into concrete. That's what farmers faced with winter haystacks. The hay knife, a fearsome-looking tool with a blade up to 36 inches long, solved this problem with brute elegance. These American-made tools featured serrated edges designed specifically for sawing through densely packed hay. Given the thrift of the Pennsylvania Germans who settled in the area, when a scythe blade was no longer deemed serviceable for cutting small grains and tall grasses, it might be recycled and mounted on a short wooden handle to serve as a corn knife for chopping down corn stalks at harvest time. While that refers to corn knives, hay knives operated on similar principles of repurposing and adaptation. Farmers would climb atop 20-foot haystacks in sub-zero temperatures, driving these massive blades down through layers of compressed fodder. Each cut required precision. Too aggressive and you'd waste precious feed. Too gentle and you'd be there all day. The wooden handles, often made from hickory or ash, were designed to withstand tremendous downward pressure while giving farmers the leverage they needed. What made American hay knives unique was their variety. Nearly every region developed its own pattern based on local hay types and stacking methods. New England versions differed from Midwest designs, each adapted to specific farming conditions. These tools remained essential until mechanical balers revolutionized hay storage in the 1940s. The engineering behind hay knives revealed American innovation at its finest. Blacksmiths discovered that slight curves in the blade created a rocking motion that reduced the force needed to penetrate compressed hay. Some featured offset handles that kept hands clear of the stack, preventing injuries when breaking through tough spots. The serrations weren't uniform. Larger teeth at the base provided initial penetration, while finer teeth near the tip created clean cuts. Premium models from companies in Ohio and Pennsylvania used spring steel that maintained its edge despite repeated impacts with hidden stones or ice. Farmers often customized their knives, adding weight to the spine for better penetration or wrapping handles with leather for improved grip in icy conditions. A good hay knife became a prized possession, often passed down through generations, with each owner adding their own modifications. Number 7. The froe. When European settlers arrived in America, they quickly discovered their traditional thatched roofs couldn't survive New England winters. The solution? An L-shaped tool called a froe that would shelter generations of Americans. By 1650, it was obvious that roofs of wooden shingles were the answer. In England, such a practice would have been horribly wasteful of wood, but here, timber was available in abundance. A froe, or frow, shake axe, or paling knife is a tool for cleaving wood by splitting it along the grain. It is an L-shaped tool, used by hammering one edge of its blade into the end of a piece of wood in the direction of the grain, then twisting the blade in the wood by rotating the haft handle. Unlike axes that chop across grain, froes split with it, creating smooth, uniform shingles. These bolts were quartered or split into wedges. A mallet and froe, or axe, were used to split or rive out thin pieces of wood. The wood species varied according to available local woods, but only the more durable heartwood or intersection of the log was usually used. American craftsmen perfected froe design throughout the colonial period, with blades typically 7-12 inches long and 2-3 inches wide. The genius of the froe lay in its safety and precision. Froes are used in combination with mallets to split timber, to make planks, wooden shingles, or kindling. They are safer and more accurate to use than hatchets or splitting mauls because the blade is not swung. A skilled shingle maker could produce hundreds of uniform shingles daily, each one split to the perfect taper. American froe manufacturing centered in New England and Pennsylvania, where blacksmiths developed regional variations. Connecticut froes featured longer blades for splitting pine, while Pennsylvania versions had heavier heads for oak. The handles evolved too. Early straight hafts gave way to curved designs that increased leverage. Some innovative craftsmen added graduated markings on blades to ensure consistent shingle widths. The tool required a special striking implement. The traditional implement used to hit it is a froe club. This is simply a short length of a thin log, still with the bark on it, with one end reduced with a draw knife to convenient diameter for a handle. By the 1890s, even as sawmills mechanized shingle production, hand-split shingles remained prized for their superior weather resistance. Master shingle makers could read the grain of a log like a map, knowing exactly where to place the throw for perfect splits. This tool didn't just cover roofs, it represented America's adaptation to new resources and challenges, transforming abundant forests into the shingles that protected countless American homes. Number 6. The hand-forged broad axe. The broad axe built America, literally. Unlike felling axes designed for chopping trees down, the broad axe transformed round logs into square beams, the backbone of barns, bridges, and homes across the frontier. American blacksmiths perfected the broad axe design throughout the 1800s and early 1900s. Companies in Pennsylvania, Connecticut, and Ohio produced these essential tools with distinctly American features. The blade was beveled on only one side like a giant chisel, allowing precise control when hewing beams. Weights ranged from 6 to 12 pounds, heavy enough to bite deep into hardwood, but balanced for all-day use. What set American broad axes apart was their offset handles. European versions typically had straight handles, but American toolmakers discovered that offsetting the handle by 3-4 inches kept knuckles clear of the wood during horizontal swings. This innovation prevented countless broken fingers and improved accuracy. Master craftsmen could hew a 40-foot beam straight and true using nothing but a broad axe and chalk line. The tool required skill. One wrong swing could ruin hours of work. Yet, in skilled hands, it created timber frames that still stand strong after 150 years. Every barn raised, every covered bridge built, started with a broad axe squaring virgin timber into architectural poetry. The metallurgy of American broad axes represented cutting-edge technology for their time. Pennsylvania forges developed a differential heat treatment process. The cutting edge was hardened for durability, while the pole, back, remained softer to absorb shock. This prevented the catastrophic failures common in inferior tools. Regional variations emerged based on local timber. New England axes for pine were lighter with thinner blades, while Appalachian models for oak and hickory featured thicker, heavier heads. The best axes used charcoal-forged steel, creating a grain structure that held an edge through thousands of strikes. Handle selection was equally critical. Second-growth hickory from north-facing slopes provided the ideal combination of strength and flexibility. Skilled hewers developed signature techniques, from the Pennsylvania swing that used hip rotation for power to the Connecticut chop that emphasized wrist action for precision. These axes shaped not just timber, but American building traditions that influence construction to this day. Number 5. The Warren Hoe. Down south, where cotton was king and precision mattered more than power, the Warren Hoe ruled supreme. Number 9. A Warren hoe, but it reckoned it might be called an onion hoe in Texas. This triangular bladed tool looked simple, but revolutionized cultivation between crop rows. Unlike standard hoes with rectangular blades, the Warren hoe came to a sharp point, creating a perfect furrow for planting. Its triangular head, typically 6-7 inches at the base tapering to a point, could work between plants without damaging roots. Southern manufacturers in Alabama, Georgia, and the Carolinas produced thousands for cotton and vegetable farmers. The tool's genius lay in its versatility. Point first, it opened seed furrows. Turned sideways, it hilled potatoes. Used conventionally, it eliminated weeds with surgical precision. During the sharecropping era, a good Warren hoe was a farmer's most prized possession, the difference between a successful crop and starvation. American manufacturers added innovations like reinforced socket connections and specially tempered blade edges that held sharpness in sandy southern soils. Some versions featured ash handles soaked in linseed oil for weather resistance. These tools worked from dawn to dusk in brutal heat, cultivating the crops that drove the American economy. The Warren hoe's design evolved through direct farmer feedback. Early models suffered from weak neck connections that broke under heavy use, leading manufacturers to develop stronger forged connections. The blade angle, crucial for proper soil penetration, varied by region. Steeper angles for heavy clay soils, shallower for sandy loam. Handle length became a science unto itself, with manufacturers offering different lengths based on crop type and row spacing. Cotton required longer handles to reach across wide rows, while vegetable gardens used shorter versions for precise work. The triangular blade served multiple purposes beyond cultivation. Farmers used the point to make planting holes, the edges to cut roots, and the flat sides to smooth soil. Some innovative farmers added measurement marks to handles, turning their hoes into planting guides. By the 1920s, premium Warren hoes featured spring steel blades that flexed without breaking, a crucial advancement for rocky southern fields. These tools literally fed and clothed America, one perfectly cultivated row at a time. Number 4. The Scythe Cradle. Before combines conquered the prairies, the Scythe Cradle fed America. This ingenious tool combined a scythe's cutting power with a wooden framework that caught falling grain, preventing precious kernels from scattering on the ground. American craftsmen, particularly in Pennsylvania and Ohio, perfected cradle design throughout the 1800s. The wooden fingers, usually 4 or 5 bent ash or hickory tines, attached above the blade, creating a basket that caught grain as it fell. Until the mid-1800s, these cutting chores were completed using handheld tools like sickles and scythes, but the cradle attachment transformed efficiency. A skilled cradler could harvest 2 acres of wheat per day, laying cut grain in neat windrows ready for binding. The rhythm was almost musical: swing, catch, dump, step forward, repeat. Whole communities would work together during harvest, with the best cradlers leading the field like conductors of an agricultural orchestra. Manufacturing centers in Seymour, Connecticut, and Lancaster, Pennsylvania produced regional variations. Southern cradles for rice differed from northern wheat models, each balanced differently, tuned to specific grains and cutting conditions. By 1900, even as mechanical reapers spread, small farmers still relied on cradles for corners and hillsides machines couldn't reach. The engineering of scythe cradles represented generations of refinement. The critical element was balance. Too much weight in the cradle made swinging exhausting, too little failed to catch grain effectively. Master craftsmen spent hours shaving wood from tines to achieve perfect equilibrium. The attachment point between cradle and scythe required precise angles to maintain cutting efficiency while supporting grain weight. American innovations included adjustable tines that could be configured for different crops, wide spacing for wheat, narrow for oats, removed entirely for hay. The cradles themselves became works of art, with bent wood forming elegant curves that were both functional and beautiful. Skilled cradlers developed personal preferences. Some liked longer tines for better grain retention, others preferred shorter ones for faster dumping. Regional competition celebrated the fastest, cleanest cradlers, with champions becoming local celebrities. These tools bridged the gap between ancient hand harvesting and modern mechanization, representing the pinnacle of human-powered agricultural technology. Number 3. The Beetle Commander. When pioneers needed to split rail fences or drive fence posts, they reached for the Beetle, sometimes called a commander. This massive wooden mallet, often weighing 10-20 pounds, delivered devastating force without damaging what it struck. American versions, particularly those made in New England, featured innovations born from necessity. The head, typically elm, hickory, or white oak, was bound with iron rings to prevent splitting. Handles were often dogwood or hickory, chosen for shock absorption. The best beetles used wood from trees struck by lightning, believed to be harder and more durable. What made the Beetle essential was its ability to drive wooden wedges without mushrooming them like metal hammers would. Splitting fence rails required precise force. Too little and nothing happened. Too much and you'd shatter the wood. The Beetle's weight and wooden head provided perfect energy transfer. These tools built America's infrastructure. Every split rail fence, every driven fence post, every barn beam fitted together. All required the Beetle's controlled power. Farmers often made their own, selecting wood carefully and shaping heads to personal preference. A good Beetle lasted generations, its head polished smooth by countless impacts, a testament to American craftsmanship. The science behind Beetle construction revealed sophisticated understanding of wood properties and physics. The ideal headwood needed specific characteristics: tight grain for durability, natural oils for weather resistance, and proper density for energy transfer. Elm's interlocking grain resisted splitting under repeated impacts, while white oak's cellular structure provided ideal weight distribution. Handle attachment became crucial. Poorly fitted handles worked loose, creating dangerous projectiles. American makers developed tapered socket designs that tightened with use, opposite of European straight sockets. Regional preferences emerged. Maine beetles featured shorter handles for working in dense forests, while prairie versions used longer handles for open ground fence work. Some innovative farmers added lead shot to hollow beetle heads, creating dead blow effects that reduced handle shock. The tool's name variations reflected its authority. Commander acknowledged its role in commanding wood to split, posts to sink, and structures to fit together. Master craftsmen could judge wood quality by the beetle's sound. A clear ring indicated solid construction, while dull thuds warned of internal flaws. Number 2. The hay hook. Before hydraulics and hay elevators, moving loose hay required tools that extended human reach and multiplied grip strength. Enter the hay hook, a deceptively simple tool that revolutionized hay handling across American farms.
American manufacturers in Illinois, Wisconsin, and Iowa produced countless variations, but all shared common features: a sharp, curved hook attached to a wooden handle ranging from 12 to 48 inches. The curve, precisely calculated for maximum holding power, allowed farmers to grab, lift, and pitch hay with minimal effort. The innovation came in the hook's design. Unlike European versions with simple curves, American hay hooks featured barbed points that grabbed and held. Some included hinged handles that swiveled, reducing wrist strain during repetitive motions. Premium models from companies like Myers and Winchester used special steel alloys that stayed sharp despite constant use. These tools transformed hay handling. A farmer with a good hay hook could load a wagon in half the time, pitch hay into lofts 20 feet high, and move tonnage that would cripple anyone using just their hands. During threshing season, skilled workers with hay hooks became the rock stars of rural communities, their speed and endurance legendary. The evolution of hay hooks reflected America's agricultural intensification. Early hand-forged hooks varied wildly in quality, leading to standardization efforts by major manufacturers. The critical innovation was discovering the optimal curve angle. Too sharp, grabbed well but released poorly. Too shallow, failed to hold. American makers settled on a 45-degree primary curve with a slight recurve at the tip, maximizing both grab and release. Handle design proved equally important. Straight-grained ash or hickory prevented catastrophic failures when lifting heavy loads. Some regions developed specialized versions: short-handled hooks for tight barn work, long-handled models for wagon loading, and double-hooked versions for two-handed operation. The best hooks featured differential tempering, hard tips for penetration, softer shanks to prevent brittle fractures. Farmers developed personal techniques. The Wisconsin whip used momentum to embed hooks deeply, while the Iowa lift emphasized leverage over strength. These tools enabled the massive hay operations that fed America's horses, cattle, and growing cities' transportation needs. Number 1. The Broadfork. While most tools on this list date to the 1800s, the Broadfork represents a newer addition to American farming, though its impact has been profound. On the 9th of September, 1963, Mr. Andre Grelin, seed merchant since 1928 in the town of Chambéry, filed a request for a patent for his revolutionary tool, the Broadfork, under the French name Grelinet. The patent was registered in 1964. American farmers embraced this French innovation through pioneers like Eliot Coleman, who introduced it to the sustainable agriculture movement. Eliot made trips to Europe to explore and share gardening methods and success stories with folks in France and elsewhere, and he brought back news of Andre's invention, only he renamed it for Americans the Broadfork. The Broadfork's genius lies in its ability to loosen soil without inverting layers, preserving beneficial soil organisms and structure. Two parallel handles connected to a row of sturdy tines allow farmers to use body weight rather than back strength. American manufacturers adapted the design with innovations like reinforced tine connections and ergonomic handle angles. A Broadfork is a particularly ergonomic tool, to the point that it earned its inventor first prize at the Lipine Innovation Competition in 1963. Today's American-made versions feature improvements like replaceable tines, adjustable working withsets, and specialized models for different soil types. Companies in states like Wisconsin, New York, and California produce Broadforks that have become essential tools for small-scale sustainable farmers across the nation. The American adaptation of the Broadfork showcases our agricultural innovation tradition continuing into the modern era. While respecting the original French design, American manufacturers added practical improvements based on our diverse soil conditions. Heavy clay soils in the Midwest required stronger, thicker tines than sandy coastal soils. Some makers developed modular systems where farmers could change tine spacing for different crops. The handles evolved too. While European versions used straight wood, Americans experimented with curved handles that better aligned with natural body mechanics. Material science played a role. Spring steel tines that flexed without breaking proved ideal for rocky New England soils. The Broadfork's adoption paralleled America's growing interest in sustainable agriculture, with each region developing preferences. California market gardeners favored wider models for bed preparation, while New England farmers preferred narrower versions for established perennial beds. This tool bridges old world wisdom with new world innovation, proving that agricultural advancement doesn't always mean motorization. Sometimes the best solution is human-powered, just smartly designed. These 10 tools represent more than just metal and wood. They're the DNA of American agriculture.
Each innovation, from the musical seed fiddle to the mighty grub hoe, tells a story of farmers who refused to accept that's how it's always been done. They adapted, invented, and perfected tools that fed a growing nation. Next time you see that rusty blade hanging in Grandpa's barn, remember, you're looking at engineering genius that built America one farm at a time. These tools deserve our respect and remembrance.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed discovering these forgotten pieces of history, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. Share your own family farm tool stories in the comments below. I read every one. Until next time, keep digging into history.